Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while falling headfirst into another alien rabbit hole. Thanks a lot, A.G. Wilde. No, really, thanks. Hey HBs, this week on the bonus feed, we're doing a squeepisode on the aforementioned rabbit hole. That's right, we're telling you all about the next two books in the Riv's Sanctuary series, Sohut's Protection and Casit's Haven. We loved these books, so don't miss it. That's this Friday on the Patreon and our Apple Podcast subscription. Now I get to welcome a new batch of Patreon beauties. Welcome to Elmi, Darcy, Amanda C., Tara D., Holly, Stardust Ocean, Emma R., and Sylph. All right, today get ready for some wonderful alien action, packed with so many microtropes we love from this subgenre. Here's part one of Riv's Sanctuary by A.G. Wilde.
Hi, Melody.
Oh, hi.
Listener.
We did Egotistical Puck Boy for me.
And now, oh my God, listener, Melody gave me the best birthday present this year. Melody looked me dead in my beautiful face and said, hey, you've been reading because we were fingering.
Wow.
Maybe, but not for this.
We've never done that.
No, we have not. We were trying to figure out our next reading schedule, and we were like running. All of a sudden, it was February, and we were like, "Oh shit!" And we were like, "Let's just do a couple of books that we enjoy." And Melody was like, "I want to do Egotistical Puck Boy." I was also on board with that because we're on a Saxon James, Eden Finley extravaganza simultaneously. It's all your fault. and then she said, hey, you've been reading a lot of alien romance lately. Do you want to do one of them for podcast? And I said, yes. But then it was actually, okay, so let me I'm going to take you through this little, my thought process.
Oh, okay, yeah. We're doing Riv's Sanctuary by A.G. Wilde.
We are. And I just happened to find this author. I'd never heard of them explicitly. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And because I am who I am, I started at the beginning of their back catalog because this author is one of those beautiful assholes where all of their books are in the same universe. Yeah. And so, oh boy, I was hooked.
Smart business.
And I was like, okay, well, let's do the first book. That was my thought. I was like, we're going to do the very first. And then I was like, no, because that one.
It just wasn't what you were looking for.
It wasn't what I was looking for podcast. And I started looking at the other ones. And the problem is that Melody was like, one of those sci-fi books you've been reading. And I was like, I've read 40 of them in the last month, but it's only two authors. And so it is actually a fairly limited set of options for me. And then I was looking through all of the different books and I was like, this is one of my favorite microtropes in sci-fi. So this, because it's kind of like Artec. It's like a slice of life, alien farmer romance. And then, and oh man, Melody, did you like book
You know how you called me a bitch about our simultaneous Sex and James Eden Finley, whatever? I'm currently reading book 3, so...
Oh my God, listener, you get a Patreon episode about the other 2 books in this series. Oh my God.
At some point.
Melody, I can give you a Patreon episode. I can give you quickies on the rest of the series.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because I don't mind spoilers. I'll still read them.
I'm so excited. Okay. This author is a hyperfixation right now. I'm obsessed. I have literally
I'm enjoying it.
The only thing I have not read by A.G. Wilde at this point is their latest series, which is another like farmer slice of life kind of thing.
Fun.
It's called New Home. And I have not read any of those books yet because the 4th one comes out very soon. And so I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. And then I'm just gonna like read all 4 of them in a fugue state that lasts about 36.2 hours.
Yep. And you'll be good to go.
I'm giddy.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so we are at Riv's Sanctuary, and we start off with our heroine. She is a human who's been abducted from Earth by like slug boys who are on flying skateboards all the time.
Yeah.
But really, slug boys on skateboards, it was important to me.
Well, okay. Do you want the little bit of backstory on them real quick in 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so slug boys actually work for another alien species abducting humans because and we learned this in this book as well, but humans are essentially dumb but sentient and good to fuck.
Yep.
And in this universe.
They're fuck pets.
Yep, they are fuck pets. And then the guys and gals and everybody else of the species that like these humans is because humans are breeding compatible with them, and their entire race is dying because
They've got like syphilis. They have alien syphilis.
They have alien syphilis, essentially.
Ew.
And they can't reproduce with each other because of it, and so they reproduce with humans
and
to keep their species going.
Yeah, but like what in the Aryan race of it all? You know what I mean? Because these fuckers, they're completely dependent on other beings.
Darwin would be horrified.
Yeah.
This is not... I guess it's survival of the fittest in the sense that they can abduct humans to make their species
and like they have
continue.
the most money and like they're the most brutal.
Oh my God.
Because that's the thing. They have a lot of power, but there aren't very many of them. And they're all dying of this alien syphilis. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, why is it always the weakest, dumbest fuckers who are like, we're the best species, you know? God damn it. Anyway, so she's in a terrarium, which honestly, this is the best case scenario for an abducted human. Best case scenario, other than like, you know, finding their person and living on an animal sanctuary for the rest of their lives. No spoilers there.
To be clear, like this entire series, the second book, I fucking loved the second book. That is actually best option.
Yes. If you have her dad, though, if you don't have her dad
in her specific situation.
Yeah.
If you have a history as a survivalist, bitch. Then you're good to go.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the second book.
She runs away from her alien captors and just hides in the forest and makes friends with another little alien creature.
A little alien Furby.
And she lives out there for a year before the hero finds her.
And the hero is this hero's brother, who is like a tracker/hunter. Okay, and so he is tasked with going and finding this lost animal, he thinks. And then he finds out.
Sexy lady. He's like, oh my God. Before he even realizes she's a sentient human, though, he's like, oh no, this weird creature. Why do I want to fuck it? It smells
the
so
smell
good.
is so sexy. And then he's simultaneously relieved and horrified that she's sentient, right? Because on the one hand, he doesn't want to fuck a barnyard animal, but on the other hand, he doesn't want to give her up.
Everything in this series is so funny to me about the way that, like, everyone's like, we'll get to, actually, we're just going to continue with this
We're
book
gonna get
because
to
we
it.
talk about it.
No, but
Melody,
truly, so
I am so excited that you're down this rabbit hole and I have somebody I can squee with.
hard. And like once I saw Cassit, I was like, if he's not book 2, he better be fucking book 3.
He's book
and
3.
he
He's
is.
book 3. And we meet a cyborg in
Really?
the third book, and
Okay.
he has a book
Okay.
in her third series. This is her second
balls.
series.
Yeah.
So like her third series,
Smart.
he has a book and it is so good.
Very exciting. Okay. But what I'm saying is like, there was a moment in this book that struck me because I don't know that we'll get to it later. So I want to say it now. One of the reasons that I say that this is like the best option, you know, as far as like being an abducted human out in the universe is I think pretty self-explanatory when they're described as fuck pets as a species. But like there's later on when she's at the sanctuary and she's talking to Riv, there's a moment when he finally figures out what happens to her. And he says like, yeah, he's talking about this species. And he says like, yeah, they're terrible to their slaves. And she has this like record scratch moment because she's never considered herself a slave. Because as like a zoo animal, the way that she relates to that is like, I guess the closest thing I would be considered is a pet. And that's not great, but like, it's a better alternative to sex slave, you know? Yeah. It's, I mean, the wisdom that comes out of this podcast sometimes, the unexpected.
Yeah, truly. If you are going to be abducted by aliens, you really want to be a fuck pet. But she doesn't even really register that she's a fuck pet in this
she's
universe
a zoo
because
animal.
she's literally a pet. She's a zoo animal.
Yeah, she's in a terrarium.
She's just a pet. Yeah. Oh my God. And the opening scene in this book is her trying to pee in this terrarium, and this like cow alien is sucking on a juice box and just staring at her. And she's like, why is this pervert staring at me? And then a bigger cow alien comes up and grabs the thing and she goes, oh my God, that's a child.
It's a juvenile pervert is what she's thinking. I thought it was a pervert, but it's just a kid. Oh no.
It's just a kid. It's a kid who's like, wow, what a weird looking monkey.
Yes. Yeah. So then she finds out from like the owner of the zoo that they are getting rid of her and they're taking her back to like the terrible marketplace where they sell sub-beings or whatever. And she's like, wait a minute, I know that I'm making you a metric fuck ton of money because of like the crosstalk I hear between other employees. Like I am the main feature at this horrible zoo. So she's like, she can't figure out why. And we find out it's because she was gotten illegally. And so like, I guess the owner has gotten enough heat.
Well, what's happening in the outside world is there's an intergalactic union that you can't traffic because slavery is legal in this world or in this universe, but you cannot traffic from creatures who do not have like light year space flight.
Yes.
Like they have to hit a certain point, and so she's essentially because
they're indefensible.
Exactly.
They can't defend themselves.
Yeah, they don't even
indefensible is a
they don't even know that aliens
connotation.
exist. Like this is illegal, and so she's basically black market goods, is what she is. But they're starting to crack down on it.
Right,
is what's happening.
Right. Yeah, so he's like, I gotta liquidate you because it's not worth the risk anymore. So she's like, oh no, I don't want to go back to that terrible market. It smelled horrible, and like I don't know what the next person who buys me is going to want me for. Like, this is awful, but it's the evil I know, you know?
So she literally gets put in a box, listener, and taken to this market. And then all of these aliens are creeping on her.
Hard.
And he is selling her. He's like, yeah, she's a blah, blah. She's a human and she's, soft and people like to fuck them and like all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And then, oh my God, Geblet
enters the chat.
He is
fucking love a Geblet.
He's like a stick man, like a stick bug.
A stick bug with like a bulbous back of his head.
Yes. And he comes up and he's like haggling with this zoo guy. And then he ends up buying her, which is a better option, she thinks, so far, because he's not immediately a lascivious creep who's like, yeah,
right,
I'm going to obliterate this fuck pet.
Yeah.
Turns out he did buy her for bed.
Oh, so he, though, is like narrating what he's doing to her. Like, we're going to go do this and that. And like, Karga's going to love blah, blah, blah. Because he doesn't realize that she can understand him. And then he's finally like, I guess it would be really helpful to know your language. So he goes and he gets the language download, finds out that she is not only sentient, but has understood him the whole time. And he's like, okay, well, now we're going to go present you to my Karga. You are just horrifying looking, but I feel like you fit the brief for what she sent me for. Because he is utterly devoted to his wife.
Spoiler, listener, she does not fit the brief because they get back to the house and we zippy zap to a scene of Karga, who is gigantic, even more bulbous head. She has 6 eyes, a billion limbs, and she is screaming at him. She's like, I can't believe you brought that ugly fucking thing into my house. And he's like,
and you
so
expect
sorry
to put it in my bed?
Yeah, and she's like, get rid of it, take it away. Like,
it doesn't have enough limbs.
It doesn't have enough limbs. And then
it's so ugly.
He gets in his little hover car with her in her box, and he's looking at the box, and he's like, oh my God, that damn zookeeper. There's a no returns label on this. By the way, listener, you don't know this. I don't think we learned it in this book, if I remember right. Okay. And he is basically a diplomat for this planet. He's an ambassador.
We do learn it in this book.
Okay.
Maybe. Or maybe it's the second book.
It might be. I think it's the second book because I remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So anyway, he's an ambassador, so he does follow the rules. And he's like, oh my God, this must be that. If there's no returns, I'll bet he got one over on me because that means that you're illegal and blah, blah. And he's like, what do you mean you're a human? Oh my God, this is a nightmare.
I can't get caught with illegal goods. And like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And she says, well, do you think you can think of like a nice friend that would maybe want
a nice unmarried friend?
Yeah.
Because, like, in her head, she's like, this alien species thinks I am ugly as fuck.
Yeah.
A nice, unmarried friend I'm not going to get sent away because their Karga is disgusted by me.
Right.
And they're not going to want to fuck me. I will literally just be their pampered cat.
Yeah.
This sounds great.
Second best scenario for a trafficked human out in the universe, okay? So she's like, what about a nice friend? And he like thinks for a minute and then he's like, oh, there is one person I can call in a favor from. I'm going to take you to him. It'll be great.
And she's like, is he nice? And Gilba's like,
He like sidesteps the question and he's like, he runs a sanctuary for, abused animals. And she's like, oh, that sounds really nice. So he takes her there. He's at the front gate and he's like, okay, get in this box and hide. Do not come out. And she's like, what? Don't you think he's going to want to know like what he's accepting? And he's like, listen to me. This is how it's going to go. Get in there. Don't make a noise and hide. She's like, okay. So he calls Riv and she overhears this conversation between them where Giblet's like, I have something for you.
Community.
Yes. Yeah. And Riv is like, I'm not accepting anything, especially from you. Goodbye. And he's like, I'm calling in my favor. And we find out that it's like a legit favor. Like it's legit.
Yeah, it's like the end of this book or second book.
But anyway, so because of that, Riv comes out and she's like, oh, this person does not look anything like Giblet. This is a hot blue man with abs and horns. And
boy,
he's totally humanoid. And man, he looks real mad. Like he doesn't have the kind eyes of an animal sanctuary person that I would expect.
No, listener, the reason he has a sanctuary is because he hates people. He hates other aliens.
Because everybody's fucked him over forever and ever. And so he has turned that. He's put his energy into caring for lesser life forms who have also gotten fucked over by everyone. Yeah. And so meanwhile, Giblet is trying to be like, well, you know, you don't know the species, but like it would really get along with like your cow hippos over there. And Riv is like, what are you talking about? Like this box looks too small to be a cow hippo. And Giblet's like, no, I mean in temperament. Like, really docile, really easy to care for. I gotta go.
Riv looks at him, though, and says, so tell me, what did you buy this thing for? Cargo wanted a new bedmate to make things more exciting. Riv's groan of disgust mimicked her feelings. He paused just on the other side of the barrier as the particles activated once more, locking Giblet on the other side. You were going to feck an Ooga? His disgust seemed to grow as he said the words. Giblet smiled at him weakly, but said nothing.
Nothing. The Oogas are the cow hippos.
Cow hippos.
Yeah, and they're animals. They're legit animals.
I love
creatures.
that Riv's like, you were going to fuck a cow hippo. A
like,
tiny
wow, you
cow
must
hippo.
love that wife of yours. Yikes.
Anyway.
So he takes her inside, undoes the box, and she springs out. And he's like, oh, that's not a cow hippo at all.
And then she grabs his gun.
Yeah. She darts over to where he put his gun down when he came back inside on the table, grabs it, and points it at him. And he's like, whoa. Okay, it moves much faster than I thought it would.
This is clearly a sentient being. I don't understand its language, but it's very clear it's like a language and not just animal noises.
Yes, absolutely. And it's got the business end of that blaster pointed at me. Like it understands how blaster do. You know?
Well, but he's also like, I don't think it's super knowledgeable because the safety is still on.
The safety's on the blaster.
So so he's
clearly
like
doesn't know how to use it.
He's just kind of watching her with his arms crossed, and he's like,
meanwhile, she's trying to make her case. Yeah, and so she's standing there with the gun being like, I don't want to hurt you, but I will if you hurt me. And like, I will be so useful here. I can do so many manual labors, and like, I can do anything around the farm that is helpful
and meanwhile,
or clean
he's
or
staring at a creature holding a gun who's just looking at him and being like,
yeah, very frantic. Yes. And he's just like, I could move really quickly and like disarm this creature anytime I want, but like I'm gonna let this play out a little bit.
Oh my god. And then he calls Giblet.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the actual fuck, dude?
This is nothing like an Ooga.
Come take This is not a baby cow hippo, Giblet.
No.
What the fuck? And Giblet's like, I'm sorry, no returns.
No takes backsies.
No takes backsies. It's yours now. You touched it last. And he's like, well, fucking fine. And then he looks at her and because she can understand him.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and he's like, well, I guess I need to figure out what I'm doing with you. And she smiles at him, a big old grin, because she's like, oh, thank
she's like,
God.
That sounds promising.
Of course, because he's an alien in this universe, he takes it as like an attack, like a baring her teeth in anger. And so he leans over to her and bares his teeth and growls at her. And she's like, in her head, she's like, okay, don't grin, never grin, never grin again. And then her stomach growls because she's hungry, and he thinks that she's making an angry noise at him. And she's like, don't grin, don't let your stomach growl, don't do anything.
Yeah, right?
Ever.
Well, so then he's like, I can't put her in the barn. That doesn't feel right. So I guess I'll put her in like our quasi spare room. And he leads her over there and shows it to her. And she she's like getting misty eyed and she's crying because he's treating her like a person. Like it's not a hard mat that like she had in the terrarium. It's a legitimate bed. It's a space and a door that closes that she has the ability to open. Like this is for the past year.
This is luxury.
This is a level of respect that she's almost forgotten she's owed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, I'm really trying to keep it together, but like, thank you. And he's like, I don't know
Why
what
is this thing
anything is
so
happening.
wet?
It's leaking now. I don't love it.
I love an alien who looks at a crying human and is like, oh God, what is wrong with it?
What's wrong? There's something coming out of your body, out of your eyes.
One of my favorite sci-fi alien microtropes, and it happens in so many of them. It's happening in a series I'm reading right now, and every time they cry, they're like, oh God, gross.
Oh God, it's leaking again.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Yeah, so she then spends the next couple of days just like in her room because she doesn't know what the fuck to do.
She has these like bricks of food because
she's got hamster food with her.
It turns out it's animal pellets.
Yes.
And he is confused. Every time he gets back into the house, he can smell that she hasn't left her room. And he's like, what the hell? Like, what is happening? And then he sits down for food. He's like, well, I guess she's not hungry, or maybe her species doesn't need to eat or like evacuate very often. So like whatever. And he makes himself alien cereal. Yep. And then he starts to take a bite and then he's like, fuck, I cannot stop thinking about that creature.
Yeah, I have to at least offer it sustenance. Is this before or after she hears that boom outside of her door?
It's after.
Oh, okay. There's also been a boom and like a scratching at her door that she can't figure out, but it's very scary.
It's like Skrillex is outside of her door with a freaking bass. It's just like,
yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, there's something out there that's gonna kill me. And so she has moved a dresser in front of her door. And he goes with the food and opens the door. And there's and he just steps over it. Because
obviously.
He's ginormous. And he hands her the food, the bowl, and he's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna sit here and watch her eat because I'm gonna have to come back for the bowl anyway. And so she starts like scarfing it, and she's like, oh my God, this is delicious. This is the best thing I've ever eaten in the last gazillion years.
Yeah.
And then she like pauses halfway through and looks at him and gobbledygooks at him and holds the bowl out. And he's like, oh, is she
offering it to me?
This isn't for both of us. Because she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Was this for both of us? Is this why you're staring at me? Meanwhile, she's just holding a bowl out to him, looking at him. And he's just, all he hears is like,
yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so cute. And so then she like spends the next couple of days watching him as he works outside, because that's pretty much what he does all day long, is just care for the animals and like, you know, clean pens out and make sure everybody's healthy and feed them at the correct times and give them whatever affection that they need. And, you know, he's just the stable presence on the farm.
She starts to get kind of an idea about him and beyond what she has personally experienced, because as far as she's concerned, he's super kind in the sense that he is taking care of her and not asking things of her or anything like that. But boy, he is a grouchy fuck.
He's surly.
Ooh, he's a grump. Ooh, he's a surly boy. But then she watches him out this window and he's taking care of broken legs on oogas. He's taking care of, oh my God, there are these creatures that are basically cotton balls. And there's one specific one that breaks out constantly, licks everything, and tries to eat anything it can get its tiny, fluffy mouth around. Like, it is so cute. I love it.
Because he has to go capture it, too. And so it's just this big, giant blue guy chasing around like basically a tiny, puffy chicken kind of situation.
Yeah, it's like a silky chicken, but fluffier. I think of it like a cute, minified sheep. But instead of it being like coarse wool, I imagine like really fine, like fluff. It's a pom-pom on legs, she describes it as. So she's like, what? So he can't be like all bad. He's definitely got compassion and things like that because he's so kind to these animals. This is a sanctuary for animals that are past their use and also abused and all of these things. And then she finally gets bold enough to leave. Because the night that she eats, he takes her like to the washroom or whatever. And so she's like, okay, I'm allowed out of my room, I guess. And so he's out working and she goes meandering the farm.
Yeah, she wants to see what he's doing because she's only seen him like in between buildings, kind of, you know?
And listener, we get his point of view too. And he's like, he'll look over. He can't stop looking at her bedroom window. And every time he sees her looking at him, staring at him, he's like, I don't know why I don't find this to be a problem, but also
kind of like feeling her gaze on me. But that's very concerning because I am an island unto myself and I need no one. So.
I am an island who gets occasionally visited by my brother and my best friend.
Who I barely know and barely speak to because, again, island unto myself. Thank you so much.
The only reason he sees Soha is because he lives there. He has a bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. So she ends up going into the same building as him. And then she hears that like whoomp behind her. And she like knows that the creature has its sights on her and she doesn't know what the fuck to do.
And Riv is like, Grot, don't do it. Don't.
And so she's like, oh my God, I'm just going to stay as still as possible. And he's like, yeah, don't move. I'm going to figure this out. And there's like this wolf. And then finally, this animal like bounds up to her. And she's like, oh God, this is how I die. And tackles her onto the ground and then just starts licking her face all over.
It's a giant alien dog, listen.
It's a big bull mastiff alien boy. And she's like, is this licking like a pre-meal ritual of this creature? And then figures out, no, this dog just like really likes her.
Meanwhile, Riv is like, why? This is fucked up.
Yeah.
Grot doesn't like anybody. What the hell? What?
Yeah, this is not the social contract that I have with this species. My dog, we bonded because both of us don't like anyone. Thank you very much. I don't understand what is happening right now. And from then on, Grot just like follows her around. He starts sleeping with her instead of Riv. Like
it turns out Grot's species is essentially a female protector species.
Yes.
Like you buy it for your mate and then nobody fucks with your mate because this species will
They'll get
obliterate.
The business end of that
It
Grot.
reminds me of those doggy boys from the Rizdaverse series, like the one that ends up with Jirok's lady on the station.
You mean the cat spiders, the tiger spiders?
Yes.
Yeah. The tiger lizard spiders, because they are scaly. They're iridescent scaly tiger lizard spiders.
Another favorite microtrope in it. This book is chock full of my favorite things about an alien romance. So she is just following him around now, chattering at him because she's just talking out loud and she's trying to help him. She's like watching him and being like, oh, he's picking alien peaches. I can pick an alien peach.
Yeah.
And the entire time he's like, she never shuts up.
She's constantly yammering.
But then when she's not around, he's like, man, it's quiet.
Wow.
It's so quiet.
Remember when I used to love the quiet and the solitude? I don't know that I like it anymore. I really like being annoyed by a very loud female. And she, meanwhile, is like, okay, if I make myself useful here, he might not want to get rid of me. Like, she doesn't have her hopes high because he keeps telling her, like, as soon as we get coverage for the farm, I'm taking you to the meat market and like getting rid of you. I can't do this. So she ends up like starting to help out around the farm, feeding things. She cleans up so much dung. And then she realizes that he is going out before her and doing like 90% of the work, but leaving just enough for her to like feel useful. but not like break her tiny body.
Well, it's because the
It's
first day
fantastic.
that she does a ton of work without him, she is basically broken. Like, it's
Yeah.
hefty work. And he's like, oh man, I hate this creature bothering me, but also it's so nice and expressive, and her eyes are so soft, and her body is so soft. There's nothing to protect her. And let me get most of the dung. Also, all of my animals love her.
He didn't realize how much he loved the animals coming to grate him until they stopped grating him because they were paying attention to her now. Okay?
Yeah, how
It's
dare.
so mean.
So then it's one night and she's in her room and she starts hearing a weird noise coming from Riv's room. And he's like groaning in what she thinks is pain. So she worries about him. So she goes to his room, opens the door, and he's having a nightmare. And so she goes into his room to like wake him up and get him out of it. And when he wakes up, he is like, oh my God, what the hell are you doing here? You're trying to use sexual favors to force my hand and make me keep you. Somehow you know that I'm into you. And like, fuck that. We're not having anything to do with this. Get out.
And he doesn't understand her when she says, like, you were having a nightmare. I was worried. I was trying to help. But he understands, like, the tone. And he has always had an incredibly fraught relationship with, like, every woman in his life, starting with his mother. And so when she tries to do something that he perceives as helpful or nice or whatever, his immediate response is, oh, she's trying to manipulate me for X, Y, or Z. And, like, he comes by it honestly, you know?
Yeah, we know his history a little. We get bits and pieces throughout the book, but essentially his history is his mother sold him and his brother to a mining operation as children. Like, they were basically 10 and under, essentially, if I remember correctly.
They were 8 and under, but they were 8 and 6.
Right. Ooh. Delicious.
And a lot of times the species, it's the same species that does most of the sex pet trafficking. And so they also use his species, the Mercy, for that. But since they were so young, the lady owner of the place was like, oh, put them in the mines. And then if they basically survive until they're sexually mature, then I can pull them into my like harem.
Yes.
Awful
and then
situation.
The entire time that they're in the mines, a bunch of ladies in the mines were manipulating them and
stealing from them. And it wasn't just ladies. There were also a bunch of dudes being like, I'm bigger than you. Give me all the stuff that you dug today. And then you get whipped and I don't.
But the difference is that the dudes in the mines were like, they
straightforward about it.
Yeah, they were straightforward about it. Whereas every woman that they interacted with used them by pretending to care, by pretending to need help. Basically what she is, but she's not doing it with a manipulative intent.
Right.
Or a malicious manipulative intent. Like she's like, if I'm productive and helpful, he'll keep me, but it's not I'm going to make him addicted to me.
Yes.
So he doesn't ever want to get rid of me kind of thing.
Right. Or like she's not trying to steal his farm from out from under him or whatever, you know?
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
So he falls back asleep and he wakes up to a boom, boom. He's like, what the hell is happening? And then he hears his brother. Turns out his brother's home. And he walked into the spare room because he could smell something up.
Yeah, something weird in there.
And then he goes in and is like about to touch her.
No, he leans over to get like a better look or like what is happening in this room? What is this creature? He's never seen a human before.
Ooh,
and she
Grot's pissed.
Loses it. Yeah, she gets really scared. And so as a result, Grot The dog that has lived with Sohut for all of these years has Sohut backed up against a wall, like growling and just about to launch himself with his teeth at his junk, you know?
And listener, it turns out Riv didn't even notice, but she took his gun. She's been holding on to his gun this whole time, and so now Grot has Sohut against a wall. She has a gun trained on him, and he's just such a sweet baby angel, and he's like, I
don't understand what's happening. So then Riv's standing in the doorway, and Sohut's like, hey, can you please call off your dog?
No.
And then Riv is like, I don't know if you've noticed, but like the dog isn't listening to me right now. And he's like, okay, ask the female to call off the dog then. And he's like, oh, she doesn't have any power over my dog. Like, please. And Sohut's like, try. So he asks her to, and she figures out that like she is safe. She's still like the same amount of safe. And then she says, good doggo. Because she calls him doggo all the time, and it's the best.
And
Grot goes and like sits by her and lays on the bed and like snurfles up, and he's great. And so then Sohut, like, this is the first time that Riv has confirmed that she can understand what he says out loud. Up until this point, he thought they both were like not understanding each other.
God.
But Sohut, it's so great.
The audacity of a man.
I know. And so Sohut is like, hey, this is really cool. I just got back from like, you know, an expedition, and you are a brand new species. I wish that I could like spend more time with you and ask you about your world and your story and everything, but I'm actually on my way to another job. And so since he knows that she can understand him, he's like showing her around. He's showing her all the gadgets. And Riv is watching
Riv is a pissy little asshole about it.
He doesn't understand why he dislikes his brother talking to the female like this and then touching her at one point, like her arm. And he's like, don't touch her. And everybody's head swivels to Riv. And he's like, she's not staying long, so like don't get attached. And he's like, I'm taking her to the market today. And Sohut's like, who's going to be here for the animals? And he's like, you are, you're home. Hello. And Sohut's like, no, I'm going to a job, man. Like, I'm just here to pick up my shit and I'm going. I have a hunt. I have a thing to hunt down.
He's headed right into his book.
It's so good.
So he takes her to the market anyway. And they're there with Grot. And he's noticing that she's getting a lot of attention.
A lot of lascivious looks from the male population of the aliens.
People are straight up coming up to him and being like, are you selling her? How much are you selling her for? I'll give you blah, blah, blah. And he is getting really pissed off about it. And then finally, some guys end up being real pushy and like trying to grab her, essentially. And he goes fully feral and like grabs this dude by the neck, and he's like
strangling him.
But there's 3 of them. And so she comes up behind one of them, and she has this watch.
She has her mother's watch that doesn't tell time anymore, but it's the only thing she has from her family and Earth.
And they fake this whole thing. They fake it till they make it, because she shoves it against one of the guys' necks, like the leader's neck or something. And she just starts babbling. None of them speak English. And Riv is like, oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down. We're going to pretend. He's like translating, quote unquote, for her. And he's like, oh, look, she has a weapon against you.
It's a brain scrambler.
It's from her planet, and it's got enough power to obliterate everything. And she's just like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like,
well, and meanwhile, what she's saying out loud, which I thought was very audacious on her own, because somebody out in the
what if they
yard
do speak English?
Could speak it. Yeah. So she's just like, this is a harmless watch and it doesn't do anything, but you don't know that. And so I'm going to hold it to your head. And so she's telling everybody, if they speak English, that like she's doing a big con instead of just committing to the bit.
It doesn't even do the function that it was made for anymore.
Oh my God.
But I have it up against your neck.
Yeah. You got to commit to the bit, dude. Like, go all in or go home.
So
anyway, it works.
Those guys run off, and he's like, all right, I'm not about this. I need to figure out something else to do with her, but this is not it.
Well, and to be clear, I don't think we made one thing clear, because, like, Giblet was going to sell her back, right? And, like, the zookeeper sold her. That's not what Riv's here to do. He actually, the place that he takes her is sort of like a jobs market where people who have the ability to work in one way or another will, like, show off their skills so that other people will hire them. So he's not trying to sell her like a slave. He's trying to get her employment so that she can be on her merry way and, like, live her life.
Yes.
But after he sees all this bullshit, he's like, oh, God, like, even if I do get her a legitimate job, like a nanny job or whatever, I have no guarantee that they're not going to just turn her into a fuck pet anyway, you know? Mm-hmm. So he's like, nope, we're not doing this. We're going home. So then after that, he walks over because she's getting so much attention that it's making him really uncomfortable and worried that the same thing's going to happen again. So he goes over to a vendor to get a cloak for her. And it is a slug boy on a hover skateboard. And she freezes. She has, like, a full-on PTSD response. Mm-hmm. He obviously can't figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then finally, like, he gets the cloak and follows her away. And at that point, he's trying to figure out, like, you know, what do I do? What was that? What is she afraid of? Like, it's not the cloak, I guess.
Yeah. So she's then able to get across to him because he realizes that Giblet definitely was able to they were able to interact.
Yeah.
Based on what he knows. And she gets across that this place, there's a vendor here with her language download.
Yeah. We can go get it.
He goes to this person and has to bribe the hell out of this guy to get the language download. But he eventually does, and now they can talk.
Yeah. It's huge. And so as they're, like, walking back to their transport, they start seeing a bunch of people in the main thoroughfare start, like, scurrying out of the way. And people are, like, plastering themselves to the side of booths and, like, trying to make themselves as small as possible. Mm-hmm. And she's very confused about this until she sees essentially like a parade almost of this big, like, cart thing and then a bunch of, like, alligator soldier boys surrounding it. Yes. Yeah. And so he's like, we're just going to wait this out. They're going to go by and we're going to just deal with it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, God, this was awful. Trigger warning
terrible.
For
trigger warning
child
for
murder, person murder, all the bullshit. Mm-hmm. A kid's ball rolls into the street, and so the kid runs out to grab it, but then sits down and starts playing with it in the middle of the street. And then an elderly alien follows the kid and tries to, like, pull it out of the way, but it's just not budging. It's really hyper-focused on this ball. The aliens, the alligator boys are trying to get them to move, but they're not like, hey, we're trying to pass here. They're like, how dare you be in the way of this, like, high and mighty Schmurgle
Ambassador Blue.
Yes, this is one of the best syphilis boys I've ever met in my life, the alligator boy says. Mm-hmm. And so finally, he's like, I'm really not trying to hold you up. I'm trying to get the kid out. And then Riv grabs her face and pulls it into his chest. And she hears the telltale sign of, like, metal shrinking as it pulls out its sword. And it kills both of those aliens right in the street.
Yeah, and then just continues on. And so this is when she shares her story with him. Like, those lizard boys are not sexy ones from Sea-Sand Planet. Mm-mm. Those lizard boys are lizard boys that stole me. They're the ones who...
They were like the enforcers for the slug boys that, you know, they were all in on it to, like, traffic her. And so he's like, oh shit, this changes everything. If you're a trafficked being, they can come get you at any moment and I have no recourse whatsoever. We have to get you registered as a refugee or shit can go sideways really easily.
And for now, we just need to get you back to the sanctuary because it is not safe for you to be here.
Yeah.
They get back there, and now we have a bunch of time where he's like, man, I really need to get rid of her. But also, like, now that I can understand her, like...
It's really fun.
Ooh, I have a lot of feelings
she's
about this
cleaning
thing.
the house, and he's like, we haven't cleaned the house in 11 years. This was a monumental task, and she did an amazing job.
She cooks a homemade meal, but because she doesn't know alien food, she makes it real weird.
Yeah.
And
she makes it
like,
the human way.
Uh-huh. And it's delicious. He loves
it's so good.
He's so emotional. He's like, oh man, this is real. But he's dead silent because he's still a surly little grump. And he's
stoic.
So resentful that he has feelings about her.
Yeah. Not only resentful, but he's also like, I can't let her know that her manipulation is working.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's still on that train of like, I have to get rid of her regardless. No matter how much I like her, no matter how much I like the things she does, I am not safe if I have an emotional connection to another being who isn't my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's being like, hey, how's the food? And inside he's like, 5 Michelin stars. Like, holy fuck balls.
This is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
We've never thought about boiling the rye. Like, wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But outside, he's like, it's edible. So mean. That's where we're stopping for today. We'll be back tomorrow with part 2. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hey, Kristen, how's it tracking?
With Carvana Value Tracker.
What else?
Oh, it's tracking. In fact, Value Surge Alert trucks up 2.5%. Vans down 1.7.
Just as predicted.
Mm-hmm.
So, we gonna...
I don't know. Could sell, could hold.
The power to always know our car's worth.
Exhilarating, isn't it?
Tracking.
Always know your car's worth with Carvana Value Tracker.